All of this at a time when we got news out of China today. Forget about the fact that its economy contracted in the first quarter, 6.8%. We've never seen that in the better part of 40 years. But we also had a revised death count in Wuhan. It was ratcheted up 50%. Previously, 2,579 victims. Now, 3,869. Apparently, it really was a search of Wuhan hospital data records that brought some clarity to that. So we don't even know whether that is accurate. But Dean Cheng of the Heritage Foundation keeps a close eye on all of this stuff. Dean, thank you for your patience with all this breaking news. Do you know whether these latest numbers we're getting from China to clarify the death count in Wuhan are indeed accurate and the latest, most accurate numbers we know?
They're the latest numbers, but I'm not sure that we know whether they're the most accurate numbers. The reality is twofold. One, we're not really sure how the Chinese are counting death figures. If you had a heart condition and coronavirus, were you initially, or are you even now slotted as a heart attack person, not a COVID-19 person? The other thing is that it's very, very hard to believe that in all of China they have had only something like 6,000 deaths, which is I believe the official figures is somewhere in that neighborhood.
So when I look at counts, Dean, you know these counts far better than I, so if you'll just indulge me here, the official cases I get out of China are a little bit north of 82,000. I guess we're showing 83,760 at the very, very least. Now, that compares to a little more than 672,000, I should say, in the U.S. Those figures change as I see them. I apologize. Do you believe there's that kind of a discrepancy between our two countries?
No, I don't. Let's be clear here. The Chinese changed how they were counting coronavirus victims in January. This is something they themselves actually reported. They went from genetic markers to symptoms back to genetic markers, which means that we don't really have a good sense at this point of how they're counting them. Second of all, it is frankly impossible to believe that in a country the size of the United States with 4 times the population, that the Chinese can state with absolute confidence that there are no cases in the equivalent of northern Maine, the Snake River Valley in Idaho, or on farms outside El Paso. Even with China's social credit score system, it is simply defies belief that they could have that level of monitoring. And this broke out in the middle of Chinese Lunar New Year, when literally hundreds of millions of people are jammed onto Chinese planes, trains, buses, and cars. And yet there were only 83,000 cases in a country 4 times as populous as the United States.
So China lied, if that's right. You're the expert, and I suspect it will be compelled to provide more information in the weeks and months ahead. Do you think it will?
I think everyone is already asking for that data, and the Chinese have been very clearly stiff-arming everyone. They've booted reporters from the Western press, and they've made it very clear that questioning China's numbers is racist.
Dean Cheng, the Heritage Foundation, you're an encyclopedia, my friend. Thank you for this update. I'd love to have you back to pick your brain again, but the latest update, and I think Dean spelled it up very, very nicely, is these latest revisions that we're getting in the Wuhan province.